The law of reciprocity states that an action is rewarded with another action in return. When a positive action is executed, it usually produces a sense of obligation in the other person, which often results in the action being reciprocated. In other words, when you do something for someone, or if you give something to someone, you can usually expect to be rewarded in kind. Effectively, the rule implies that you should do unto others as you'd have them to do unto you, because your action will usually trigger a reaction. You do something, and the other person does something in return. Now, we put this law of reciprocity into action just about every single day of our lives without even realizing it. I'll give you a very basic example to illustrate. When we smile at someone, the other person will usually smile back. That's the reaction. You do something for someone, you give something to someone, and they'll usually reciprocate in kind. Now, I know this is an extremely basic example that I've given you, but what I think it does is it demonstrates the effect of this powerful law, and it certainly can be put into practice in a positive and powerful way. Again, when you do or give something to someone, it almost always results in reciprocation because of the sense of obligation to return the favour. When you give a gift to someone, they'll usually reciprocate by returning the favour at some point in the future. So, the act of giving, whether it's a gift, whether it's giving of your time, or whatever the case may be, but the act of giving instills a positive impression in the mind of the other person. And the other person feels a sense of obligation to reciprocate. The law of reciprocity is used all over the world by top sales professionals. When the sales consultant gives something for free to a prospect, the prospect feels a sense of obligation to reciprocate, and one of the obvious ways in which the prospect will reciprocate is by purchasing your product or service. So you give something for free to the prospect, and the prospect will feel more obligated to purchase from you. And this is an extremely powerful sales tool that really does deliver top results. Now I'm going to discuss 3 easy examples of how you could put the law of reciprocity into practice immediately. And these approaches, which we'll discuss, will not only add to your credibility, but will also ignite the urge for the prospect to reciprocate and purchase from you. So the first example is that you could acknowledge important dates in the life of the prospect, such as an anniversary, perhaps. You could put the law of reciprocity into action by sending an anniversary card. This is cheap, it's easy, but it's extremely effective. The second way is to send a thank you note. You might thank a prospect or a customer for their time. You might thank them for their custom or for taking your call, or whatever the case may be. But these 2 types of gestures which we've just discussed demonstrate that you're a warm individual, that you're friendly, that you're thoughtful. And they're the kind of gestures that usually make a prospect feel the need to reciprocate. They're simple, they're quick, they're easy, but they have great results. And again, in each case, the obvious way for the prospect to reciprocate would be to buy your product. Now, the third example, which we're going to discuss, for you to implement the law of reciprocity in sales, is to give the prospect a gift with no strings attached. Again, this will usually be well received, and it gives a prospect a sense of obligation towards a salesperson. For example, at the end of a financial year, a salesperson might send a gift to their prospect or to their customer to thank them for their loyalty, for their time, or for their custom throughout the previous 12 months. And this is the kind of gesture that demonstrates to your prospect and to your customers that they're valued. And in return, it'll trigger a sense of obligation to reciprocate by purchasing from you. So, start thinking of ways to put this law into practice in your life. Whether you're in sales or whatever career you've got, you and others stand to mutually gain from this powerful principle which you have the power to implement. The implementation of this powerful principle will help you to close much bigger sales and to more easily reach your goals. And this law certainly demonstrates the power of give in action.